Hey Pyros, 𝗬𝗲 here at Elite Fireworks. Guys, New Year's Eve is around the corner and Elite Fireworks of Texas is actually going to open up this upcoming Wednesday. So very exciting for the Texas folks. However, of course, if you are shopping at Elite Fireworks of New Hampshire, we are currently open. Now, since New Year's is around the corner, many of you guys are going to go to your local mom and pop shop or whatever fireworks store that you typically shop, anywhere from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast and basically all in between. But you gotta understand, when it comes to fireworks, there's many different gimmicks whenever you're shopping for fireworks. So in this video, we are actually going to visit 3 main categories. That is assortments, mortars or artillery shells, and cakes, because on each category we are going to explore 3 major gimmicks that you as a consumer need to watch out, because unfortunately a majority of the fireworks industries heavily depends on these gimmicks. So you really have to be careful and be a savvy shopper. So whether you're shopping at Elite Fireworks or not, I think this can be a great educational video for you guys. But anyway guys, let's get to it. So we are going to start with assortments, but before we get started, I do want to mention that I do have a full-on video on multiple issues when it comes to shopping fireworks for assortments, cakes, or artillery shells. So highly recommend you check our channel for more detailed content. But of course, in this one, I want to give you guys a condensed version, because after all, it's very important that whenever you're shopping for fireworks, if you are aware of these little gimmicks, then of course you are, as a customer, gonna make the right decision. But when it comes to shopping with assortments, often what happens is a lot of fireworks stores are going to push you to just grab an assortment if you don't know much about packages, and they are gonna give you these fancy keywords that you get more for your money and you get a lot of variety and all of that. Some of that might be true, but you really have to be careful, because often not, assortments are not really a great deal, because when it comes to assortments, a lot of them typically they are filled with a bunch of filler items. So my recommendation for you is, whenever you're shopping for assortments, check those items that you are buying on that assortment. Do the stores actually sell them in person? So the reason why I say this is because usually when there's assortment items that are specifically made for that specific assortment, typically they are filler items. But if there's something that you are gonna see that of course you can buy it in the shelf, often that's a pretty good item. So for instance, as an example, I'll show you 𝗧𝗵𝗲. If there's stores that carry 𝗧𝗵𝗲 and they carry brothers items, like it's an expensive assortment, but I would say 90% of these items, the stores will also have them on the shelf. So what is that telling you? You are getting pretty solid items. But if there's an assortment where all of the items, for instance, we'll look at the works from brothers. So for instance, if there are some items that you see here, but you do not see them on the shelf, then those are fillers. For instance, in this example here, that I would consider this filler, 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 filler. Anyway, guys, you get the point. So you have to really be careful. And obviously, as a customer, you might not know what's a filler, what's not. But the easiest way, just browse around the shelves, just check them out real quick. If you see that the items are completely different, what you see here and what you see in the packages, I would stay away from it, okay? So that's my #1 recommendation that I recommend for you guys. Now there's many more, so highly recommend you check our channel out. But the next one that I want to move over is of course with canister shells, or depending on which part of the country you live, some places call them mortars, some places artillery shells. But basically these are reloadable artillery shells, different from cakes, where unlike cakes, these are, it's a little bit of a manual work. Now, one thing that you have to really be careful when you're shopping at a fireworks store and you are looking to get the best for your money is that often, guys, this is a big major gimmick, and majority of the industry just plain lies to their customers. So you're gonna go to many fireworks stores that they're gonna tell you, for instance, you might be looking at the item, let's say as an example here, I have the 𝗬𝗲 from Black Cat. This is a 4-inch shell, but then they'll have an item, let's say this on the 6-inch bombs from Miracle Fireworks. Many times whenever you go to a fireworks store, they're gonna try to tell you that you gotta get the bigger shell because it's a better shell. You gotta get a 6-inch shell. You gotta get a 7-inch shell rather than a 4-inch or 5-inch shell. That is a huge, huge lie, because after all, guys, you gotta understand, at the end of the day, it does not matter how tall a shell is. At the end of the day, 60 gram is 60 gram, and try not to fall for the gimmick that a bigger shell, as far as like height, it's a better shell, because often that's not the case. Personally, some of my favorite shells are 5-inch or even 4-inch shells. I mean, guys, the Diablo is an example, and it's a 60 gram, it's only under 89 bucks, 24 shells. I mean, there's no reason why, for instance, you should not go with a Diablo versus the Miracle 6-inch bomb. Now, the only reason, for instance, that where you might like the Diablo less than the Miracle 6-inch bomb is, let's say you are looking specifically for the 𝗬𝗍𝗂𝘀𝘁𝗿 effect, which is a long-lasting willow, then of course it's gonna be better, because Diablo is not gonna feature that many, you know, willows, and it's not gonna have a lot of long-lasting willows like the 𝗬𝗍𝗂𝘀𝘁𝗿 effect. So often, stay away from the gimmicks, because a 7-inch shell, a 5-inch shell, it does not matter. It's all extra cardboard. Literally, we have a video where we've actually opened up the shells, and literally anything over 4-inch, 95% of the time, it's all extra hollow cardboard. That's all it is. It's all marketing gimmick. That's why with our Elite Fireworks items, we try to be very transparent. So for instance, if you look at our Hydra, we say 5 inches tall, and then if we were to look at the back, so we say 5 inches tall and it's 1 3/4 wide. Because realistically, that's all that matters, guys. When it comes to mortars, the legal limit is 1 3/4. That's why you don't see to consumers a 2-inch, a 3-inch, a 5-inch shell. And what I mean by 2, 3, 5-inch, I'm talking about the width. So because that's what matters. The height, it doesn't mean nothing, because at the end of the day, 60 gram is 60 gram. But anyway, guys, that is for the second topic. So let's move on to the third one, and that is, of course, cakes. Now, when it comes to aerial repeaters or aerial cakes, depending on which part of the country you are, they're called a little bit different, but basically, these are your single ignite. So usually you're gonna have a single fuse. So behind here, there's a green fuse. You light the fuse, and then you're gonna have, for instance, 15 shot go off one by one. It's gonna have its own pre-recorded show, right? So once you light the fuse, that's basically gonna be it. Each cake typically lasts anywhere from 20 to 40 seconds. So my recommendation when you guys shop for aerial repeaters is always, as much as you might be incentivized, because you're gonna have a lot of fireworks retailers that they are gonna send you to the bigger box items. Because after all, a bigger box looks mightier, and it's gonna be, basically you're gonna get a so much better show. Now, I'm basically going to say bad things about one of our products that we manufacture, just because, to give you an example, because at the end of the day, I don't want you guys to think that I am being biased. So for instance, this one is Solar Eruption by our Apex by Elite sub-brand here at Elite Fireworks. Now, from a video, you might not be able to tell, but for instance, from this angle to this angle, it is 28 inches long. So over 2 feet, it's a massive, massive cake. Now, often whenever you're shopping for fireworks, this is, of course, because it's a big cake, it's one of our more expensive items. You know, typically when we were to look at zipper cakes can be some of the most expensive items because they're massive. But often, for instance, whether it's a zipper cake or you might have a big cake such as Marvelous Adventure from Pitbull Fireworks, you'll see a lot of retailers that they might basically tell you that, hey, you gotta get this one if you want a finale and you want the best show. Well, this is where I'm gonna say bad things about the Solar Eruption, because in my opinion, unless you want a zipper cake where you're gonna get, if your finale, you want a lot of sparkles in the air, and I'm very vocal about zipper cakes, I'm not a fan of them, but for instance, if you want a zipper cake that's gonna zip around and that's the effect that you want, then this is the right item for you. However though, typically, I would recommend any big items, stay away from them, because usually they are not a great bargain for the money. For instance, if we were to look at Solar Eruption, we sell it for $119 here at Elite Fireworks, but for the same price. Now that is the 500 gram because that's the legal limit when it comes to cakes. So that's 500 gram. But for instance, if we were to look at the elements, so you are getting 4 up to 500 gram cakes. Now these are a lot more compact. Now price point, guys, so you're getting 4 up to 500 gram cakes for under $117. So it's actually $2 cheaper. And I can guarantee you, because that's gonna last about 30 seconds. And if you were to just tie all of these together and light them at once, I will guarantee you this will have a much better effect, much better finale if you shoot all 4 of these together than that. And matter of fact, I mean, you can, if you want to do it almost 2-minute show, for instance, for a finale, you can just do them one after the other, light them up. And price point, it's a much better deal. So that's why always go with the more compact items, and especially one of those things I recommend, which, you know, some people overlook up to 200 gram standard cakes, but these are typically, these are the best bargain for your money because after all, they are compact. So whenever you look at up to 200 gram cakes, and I'll show you bling bling because this one has an open top. As you can see, the tubes are next to each other. So what that means is you're not wasting space. So for instance, that's one explosion, another one, where it's up to 500 gram or up to 350 gram because of regulations, because they go higher, there's more powder. Typically, they need to be spread out. So you're gonna have the styrofoams in between. So obviously, I recommend you go with compact up to 500 gram cakes like the Element, or go with 200 gram cakes because typically you are gonna get a much better deal. And this way you stay away from the gimmicks of a bigger item, it's a better item. So in conclusion, as you can see, often what happens with mortars and often what happens with cakes is that you get skewed to, you know, hopefully buy the bigger items. But what I'm telling you here, even if you don't shop at Elite Fireworks, go with the smaller items. And the good thing is a lot of products nowadays, they do have QR codes. So depending on what you like, I mean, I don't think, no, Black Cat does not have this. So for instance, Black Cat does not have it, but for instance, if you look at like window items, they do have a QR codes that you can watch the video. You can always just go on YouTube, search the item, see if you like it. And of course, there's a retailer that they go into detail with their price points. For instance, even though, for instance, Jet from Black Cat does not have a QR code, here at Elite Fireworks, not only do we give you the QR code to view it, but you get a little bit of detailed statistics, the grams, the approximate duration, the height, and so on. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you guys in another video right here on our channel. Bye-bye.